Hi, everybody. I'm Lisa Campion, and so glad to have you on the Miracle of Healing today. Super delighted to bring you today's guest. And this is kind of a full circle moment for me because I had the joy of being on her podcast many, many, many moons ago, and it feels just wonderful to reconnect. So, we have Christy Whitman here today, and we're here to talk about her latest book, The Flow Factor, and all of the powerful work that's behind it. Christy Whitman's a transformational leader, an intuitive energy healer, two-time New York Times bestselling author, and she's the channel for the council and has spent more than 25 years helping people align their energy, clear what no longer serves them, and create lives with more ease, clarity, and momentum. In her new book, The Flow Factor, Christy teaches how to move out of fight or flight into a true flow state, even in the middle of ordinary everyday stress and triggering situations. Her work is so beautiful at bridging the mystical and the practical, offering tools that are both energetically aligned and immediately useful in real life. Christy, I'm super happy to be speaking with you today and to come back together after all these many years.
Yes, it's amazing to see what you've accomplished in that time. So hi Lisa, thanks for having me, and hello to all of you.
So let's talk a little bit, Christy, about what brought you to this place and time where you are. I know your work has changed a lot since I knew you a long time ago, and what's brought you to this point where you're writing this book?
Well, it's been a long journey, 25 years, right? And um, about 2018, that's when I actually stopped doing the other podcast, and the one that had you on, because I started channeling the council like full on. I was a healer before. I was a coach. I still am. And that was the big thing, is that I would learn universal laws, principles, and then I would share it with people. And that's really what how things started for me. I love the act of sharing it. I love the act of being able to help somebody else transform their lives. And I just continued to follow that. And then one day I started bringing in the council, where my consciousness goes out and their consciousness comes in. And since then, like, my entire work and everything that I know to be possible and what they do with clients to help them, to heal their financial issues, or to heal their bodies, or heal their relationships, with whether it's their mothers, their in-laws, their kids, and all sorts of other things, find meaningful work. And so this is just the work that I do with them. And as they've been bringing forth information for courses that I, share with my community, it's been remarkable to see the healing. And so they have brought a book through called The Desire Factor through me 3 years ago. And I swore that it was my last book. I'm like, that is it. Because, the process of writing a book is amazing, and the whole thing. But when I do something, I'm like full in. So I put everything, right? Time, money, energy, everything I got into a book launch. And so I was there just at the end of the book launch, and I thought, you know what? I love the process of writing a book. I think next time I'll write an ebook. It's like one of those things, like I have a say in it anyway. So
Yeah.
I was approached to go for my PhD, and I joined a university in Sweden, and I started the process to because they wanted to give me a PhD in my public works, because I had at that point 6 books that had been out, and physical books. I have ebooks as well. But they asked me 2 questions. What's the thread through all of your books? What do they all have in common? And for me, it's energy, it's universal laws, it's releasing lack and moving into abundance. I mean, that's the thread through.
Yeah.
And then they said, well, what have you said yet? And for me, it was easy, because I had been already teaching and doing programs with the council on energy mastery, and how do we master our energy? What are practical things that we can do, even when life conditions, circumstances, whatever, are not the way that we want them to be, are unpleasant, are what I call contrasting from what we do want. And a lot of times we get stuck, not because we are bad people or because we're stupid or because we don't want to. We get stuck because it's part of our DNA. It's part of our primal experience to go into fight, flight, freeze, to go into survival mode when contrast happens. And it's so automatic. And it's reactionary many times. So something contrasting we don't want happens. And then our natural reaction is to, out of safety, it's built in, is to assess, do I need to run from this? Do I need to fight this? Do I need to just freeze here? And what happens is energetically, all kind of like when you have a meal, right? And you don't want to exercise right after you have a meal because all the blood and everything is going right to your digestion, right? All the focus is on your digestion. So you don't want to work out because you're not going to get the fullness of, what's happening with your muscles. Yeah. Apparently that's what my husband tells my two boys that are into bodybuilding. But same thing applies here, right? It's like we get into this fight or flight. It's at the back of our head and neck. It's at the amygdala. The whole entire, nervous system and every part, the lymph system, all of the systems collapse and constrict when we get into that fight, flight, freeze mode. And so we can stay stuck there for a lifetime. We could stay stuck there on an issue from when we were a kid. But the beauty of it is that when you finally let yourself out of that mode, now you can come back to neutrality. And now that's when you can start opening up to the things that you do want and the pleasures in life and the it's kind of like equating it to, you're at a soccer game and a soccer ball is about to hit you and you put your hands up to protect yourself, right? It's like, you did what you need to do as a reaction, right? To protect yourself. But the ball's gone and you keep your hands up.
Yeah.
And that's how a lot of people walk through life, very guarded, very afraid. They've got their hands up and it's very uncomfortable. I mean, just even for a couple minutes to hold your hands up like this, right? It's like whatever I'm holding, carrying, whatever I'm doing to guard myself, it takes a lot of energy. And when you finally let your hands down, when you let the guard down, it's like, oh, it's such a sense of relief. And now you're back in flow. And so to answer your question, a long answer, when they asked me, what haven't you said yet? Basically the thesis came through. I knew exactly what I needed to say to kind of put this is what needs to be said that hasn't been said yet, at least in my knowledge and awareness. Who knows what's going to happen as I grow and expand too. However, when I was doing my thesis and when I was going back to school, that didn't feel like flow, like all this formatting and all this. And I'm like, it just felt, I'm like, it's easier to write a book. So what's funny is I was like, I'm not going to write a book again, but it was so much easier to write a book than to do a thesis to go for my doctorate.
Wow.
So there you go. That's why the book is here.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Thank you so much for that beautiful story. And I'm working on my 5th book too, which is about inner child healing. It's called Sacred Reparenting. And beautiful. I'm kind of on the same page. I'm like, I really want to write a book. Like, I swear, if we could teach everyone how to regulate their nervous system and regulate their emotions, we would be like living in a different world, And I think we'd have like so little conflict. We'd have so little, we could totally reduce the pain and suffering that we feel individually and collectively if everyone was in that flow state, in that state that you're talking about with the settled nervous system and where we're really connected and we're not from that fight or flight place. So that was my whole purpose for writing my inner child book too.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. And that's just the thing too, is that to understand what we have available to us as human beings, not to try to fight against it, not to try to, because like so many years that I was in, in spirituality, if you want to call it that, I hear people go, kill the ego. You got to let go. The ego is part of our personality. And the ego gets such a bad rap. And the ego is not God created all aspects and parts. Every single, physical part that we have, sometimes we may not understand and agree why we have it, whether it's an appendix or tonsils or whatever it is. It all fit together perfectly. And so does the fact that we have a self that is the ego. It is the personality.
Yeah.
It is the part that's different. It's got its own story. And, we don't want to resist that part. We want to accept that part, because then that all those parts before us made us who we are today. And in this place, we can now choose who we want to be in the future. And to negate any part, even to negate our very, I like to use this as an example. My dog, Jax, he's a Labradoodle, coolest dog ever. I have my casita, which is where my office is, where I'm currently. And then there's the house, the main house. So then when I bring him in here, I always stay on the path, right? I open the door and he comes into the casita with me, and he likes to chill out in here. So one day I opened up the door and there was a bunny rabbit. The bunny rabbit ran, the dog ran, right? It's not because he didn't want to be a good boy. It's not because he wanted to piss me off. It's not because he didn't want to come in the casita. He saw a bunny and he took off running, because it's so animalistic. It's so natural. There was no way I was going to train or treat him out of that natural instinct. And
That's
so
right.
the same, you know what I'm saying? So the same is true for us, is that when something unexpected, shocking, right? I'll give you a perfect example. My son yesterday, I'm very grateful I have the casita, because I was not part of that drama. He was late because he got called into work. He couldn't find his wallet. And so he was, screaming and yelling, "Where's my wallet? Who took my wallet?" And it jolted my husband, right? This is a contrasting surprise, like on the whole entire immune system, where it's this jolting screaming, because we don't have screaming in our house. We don't do screaming. So to have someone yell like that, he was just jolted. And so what I shared with him to do is what I'm going to share with everybody here, is that at the back of the head and neck, where everything, all the energy goes there. Now, kind of like what I was saying, when you don't want to say swim after you've eaten, because all your energy and all the blood and all the concentration is now in your digestion. Right now, it's all, when you're in fight, flight, freeze mode, it's at the back of the head and neck. And if it's at the back of the head and neck, it means that there's no activity, creative activity, imagination, creator consciousness, deliberately choosing what you want, having higher insights, intuition, higher connection. All of this is being muted, if you will, because there's so much activity going on in the back of the head and neck, where we're like in either that resist mode, like I'm fighting someone, I'm resisting something. And it's different than most people think. It's not like I'm going to punch you in the face, I'm going to physically fight you. If I'm in fear of something, if I'm worrying about something, I'm in fight mode.
Yeah.
I'm in resistance mode, right? So we could get very much stuck there in worry and fear, despair, disappointment, right? So by understanding that there's an energy release valve at the back of the head and neck, where the head and the spine come together. Like if you were going to put your finger there and put your head back, you'd squish your finger right there, like the different energy centers that we have. When you imagine opening it up and letting the energy release out the back of the head and neck right there, what you're doing is your whole limbic system starts to release. The neurons start to be on that guard place, to be more into that relaxed mode. Your whole entire nervous system, the central nervous system, the brain, and the entire spinal cord, all of that starts to calm down. The vagus nerve starts to calm down. Everything starts to come back to a homeostasis kind of place, and it kind of more of a neutral place. And now when you're in a neutral place, now you could be creative. Now you can move. Now you're in flow again.
Right. So amazing. I love that. Yeah, those such good techniques. And so do you actually just tip your head back? Like what do you actually do to get there?
Yeah. So just imagine that, because now here's the thing that most people don't know and need to understand about working with energy, is that energy follows our guidance. Where we focus, like when we see light coming down through the top of our heads, we're imagining it. And as we're imagining it, that it's actually happening. So it's like we're guiding energy to move with our thoughts. So with that in mind, see the back of the head and it like opening up, and any stuck energy that's in the back of the head and neck just releasing. So you can imagine it's like just releasing out. And then once it starts to release out, you can imagine that light pouring in, calming down. You could bring in what the council brought through. And I'm so grateful for this information because it has changed my life and so many people, my clients' lives, is this vibration, is this spectrum of neutrality. So when you think about it, there's like 3 different buckets. The first bucket is lack, limitation, survival mode, drama, chaos. This is where we get into fight, flight, freeze. This is where all of the lower level feelings of fear, doubt, worry, sadness, all of that are in the first bucket. And our soul doesn't vibrate there. It doesn't, our divine self, it vibrates in the flow. It vibrates in positivity. So from compassion on, from a spectrum, right? And so in that second bucket is that neutrality, is it peace, harmony, fulfillment, satisfaction. And it starts with the energy of compassion, because if you're in compassion anywhere in this first bucket up to like boredom, like I'm bored, like that feeling of not enough, this moment is okay, to bringing in the energy of compassion. Compassion is a very warm feeling. It's a very comforting feeling. It's soothing. I like to equate it to like in physicality. If you're cold, someone turns on the heat and you're like, now I'm good, right? Or someone, hands you a warm blanket and you're just like, oof, that feels so good, right? Or you're cold, you put your feet in hot water. Just like that level of soothing, that's the energy of compassion. And the minute we are judging ourselves or somebody else, if we can come back into that compassion, into that neutrality, we're starting the flow. But the minute we judge ourselves or somebody else, we get out of flow. There's a whole graph in the back of the book where and I'll show you this for those who are seeing it. It's where you stop and you observe. And the minute you observe that something is either bad or wrong and in a judgment, that stops the flow.
Right.
But being in neutrality, right? There's a story that I talk about in the book where there's a Chinese farmer where he's like, maybe this, maybe not, we'll see, right? Because the minute you go, oh my God, this is bad, then all of the energy, all the meaning, all the everything, like the focus and even the energy of focus goes to this is bad, and everything constricts, right? But the minute you go, oh, I don't know if this is good or bad, this is interesting, let's see how this plays out, you're more in that neutral place. But again, we're working with that part of ourselves that naturally wants to go into, is this bad? Is this what's happening? Right? Into that reactionary fight, flight, fawn piece.
Yeah. Amazing. That's so beautiful. That's such a great, simple practice. I love it so much.
Thank you. It's powerful.
Yeah, it's so powerful. And when we're in the flow state, that's like we're moving out of our ego self, which we're not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. We want to hold on to our personal self, but we're switching more into the higher self, into the flow state. What's possible for us when we're in the flow?
Well, you can be in flow even in your own personality, right? It's like that's someone that feels like, oh, it's just I feel good. Like you could be having a meal and be in just fulfillment of what you're eating, just really enjoying that breakfast, that lunch, that dinner, whatever it is, and be fully present in it. That's being in flow. So, we could be in flow in all levels of our being, but here's the Cliff Note version of it is that flow feels good. So if we're feeling good, we're in flow,
Yeah.
And what's possible is anything's possible, because there's nothing that's impossible from that state of flow, because flow is positive. It's creative. It's fast moving. It feels life expanding. It feels, if you feel the aliveness when you're in that space of things are just moving. It's kind of like getting in your car and, all the green lights, right? It's like just
Yeah.
constant green lights. You're just, wow, got there in such good time. And, there was fun music on the radio, or, I got to talk to that person while I was driving. It just feels good. When you feel good, you're in flow.
Amazing. I love that. And you make a strong connection between the flow, the fear state and the flow state and your words. So you have a program called Watch Your Words. Seems like that's coming up pretty soon that you're running that program.
Oh,
And
it's all the
it's
time.
out. It's
Yeah.
out. Okay, so it's ongoing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So, I've been talking, again, many books, right? And when I published the Quantum Success book, which is all about the 7 essential laws towards work and money, it's a great book for, that part of our lives, and how do we apply the universal laws to it. Well, when that book came out, I was doing a lot of radio, and hosts would ask me, okay, you're talking about these esoteric principles of universal laws. Like, how do we bring this into practicality into our lives? And I said, they said, what's the first thing that we have to do? And I just said, watch your words. Our words have power, like even and I'm not a biblical person, but even in the Bible, it says in the beginning, there was the word, right? Yeah. And the word was good. The word was with God. And so when we are speaking good words, when we are saying things that feel good, then we are in that creator consciousness where we're expanding with it. But when we're saying words that are closed off, negative, that are full of limitation, we're speaking literally into that first bucket that doesn't feel good. And words always let us know where our consciousness is, because we're speaking what we know to be true. And so if we're being negative, then it also gives us an understanding, a glimpse into what have our thoughts been, what have our imagination been, because our words are one of the 5 aspects of consciousness, like I talk in the flow factor: words, thoughts, perspectives, feelings, and then actions. And so, and each one of those feelings alone, emotional freedom and knowing how to manage your emotions and all that kind of stuff, it's so much easier to do when you're out of that fight, flight, freeze mode, because that's why we start here. We release that. And then once we release the fight, flight, freeze, then we can go down into the emotional body, into the belly, and really be able to be present with whatever is happening, whatever is going on. But our words are always an indication of where our consciousness has been focused. So I created a 30-day, it's 30 videos basically. Each video is about 2 to 3 minutes in length. And it's me talking to you on the video and having you actually say certain words and seeing how you feel, and then saying another word instead and seeing how you feel. So you're experiencing it. And I'll tell you what the videos tell you. They tell you what not to say, why, and what to say instead. And each time you watch these videos and you shift this, you're going to feel so much better. And at the end, you get a PDF of all the 30 words and phrases that you want to avoid, and then what to say in replace of them. So it's really powerful transformational process.
That's so cool. Because I think so many of us speak like from our subconscious, really. Like we're not really thinking about what we're saying, and that's sort of like what the practice of NLP is, like learning how to control, monitor your thinking by what you're saying, or change your thinking, change your mind. Because when you're working with your words, it's not just what you're saying, it's also what you're thinking. Changing your words is a way to change what you think.
It's the spark of creation. It totally is. Because if you're changing your words, what are thoughts? They're words, right? I mean, they're a series of words when you really think about it. And the next is then our perspective or beliefs. What are beliefs and our perspectives? What we continue to think over and over and over again, which are words. So if we change the words, we change the thoughts, we change the perspective, we change the way we feel, we change the actions that we take, and then we change the results that we have. It all starts with our words. It's essential.
Super cool.
Yeah.
I love that. And I love the fact that you're channeling, because I've been working as a psychic for, can you believe it, 40 years now.
Wow.
I know. Started when I was 19. And that's what I've done my whole life. And I just love it that you're channeling. So just to sort of close off our conversation here, who were the council and how did you connect with them?
Well, it's really funny. My meditation teacher 35 years ago said something to me one day, and she said, "You're a channeler." And I looked at her and I go, "Great." And I had no idea what she meant, even though she herself was a channeler. She channeled. But I didn't understand that back then. So I'm grateful to be able to be a channeler. It's like one of the greatest privileges and honors, and I'm so happy. I remember being on stage. I had my coaching academy where I certify law of attraction coaches since 2008. And we had a business event that we would do once a year called the Quantum Success in Business. And I remember getting on the stage, and when I was going to do an event, it was like I did an event. So it was like I was practiced for 6 months, of what was going to happen and who was going to be there. And, I had rehearsed it so many times. And so by the time I got up on stage, I was exhausted. And I said to my audience, I said, I have Esther envy, Esther Hicks, right? And I said, I have Esther envy. She could just come up on stage. She goes, hi, and then bye. And then, Abraham does all the heavy lifting, right? And so it was just shortly after that I started channeling. But who they are ascended masters. It's my understanding is what they've told people and told myself, that they're the highest energy that is on the planet that comes through a source. I'm not just one of, I'm one of many, where this higher energy comes through as, think of it as the highest, purest energy that can come and be received on the physical planet from a physical person. So I have to raise my energy to be able to receive them so that we kind of meet in the middle, so to speak. And I can be able to then communicate, and they communicate through me using my vessel, and, be able to see things. And they give great information. They have great processes. They do energy healings. They can see people's blocks. It's really profound. I'm very, very proud of the work.
That's so beautiful. I love that so much.
Thanks.
Amazing to see where you've come since last time we connected in 2018.
Yes.
Quite incredible.
Thank you.
And
too.
So, Christy, if people wanted to buy your book, find you, figure out how to work with you, or do your Watch Your Words program, how would they find you?
Well, if you want to go to Watch Your Words, that's the first place to definitely, to continue with this conversation. Go to watchyourwords.com. You can also go to christywhitman.com. That always has like the, next best, greatest programs that we're doing and offerings that we have. And then I'm also on social media. I'm Christy Whitman Official on Instagram. You can go to theflowfactorbook.com or any place where you can get books to purchase the Flow Factor.
Oh, beautiful. Wow. So amazing. I thank you so much for being here. And I thank you so much for the work you're doing in the world. It's just so amazing what you're doing. I love it. And thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
And thanks all of you guys for tuning into this incredible conversation. I hope you run right out and get Christy's book and engage in her program. It sounds super powerful. And if you want to find me, you can find me at lisacampion.com. Stop by and visit. I work with emerging psychics, healers, and empaths to help them step fully into their gifts, because I think the world needs all the healers it can get. And that is what we're doing here on the Miracle of Healing, where we are saving the planet one person at a time right here on the Empower channel.